What is your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And today we are talking about too much to do, because that's what's going on with a lot of people today. Too busy, too much to do, overwhelmed. And I'm excited because on this show, we're always bringing on the best guests to talk about cutting edge tips and hacks and ways to look at things that are different, that give you the edge up and help you to manage this too much to do. And today I'm so excited to have Jones Loflin on. He has made it his life's work to deliver powerful ideas and practical solutions to individuals and organizations who are struggling with too much to do. And his books are described as illuminating and his presentations as unforgettable. In his 24 years as a speaker and trainer, he's helped countless people to regain confidence in their ability to achieve greater success in work and in life. Jones's innovative solutions on leadership, change, time management have attracted attentions of organizations around the world, including Federal Express, Choice Hotels, Toyota, Raymond James Financial, State Farm, and even the United States military. And basically, prior to becoming this international recognized speaker, Jones was an educator. And his past work includes serving as Train the Trainers for the best-selling book, Who Moved My Cheese? So if you remember that one, that was a great one. So Jones is also a co-active coach focusing on the areas of leadership, change, time management with his clients. And he's a member of the National Speakers Association, as well as the Association for Talent Development. Woo! So without further ado, Jones, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Penny. I've been excited about the opportunity. I love the list of topics that you address and the variety, because I find that in my world, it's not always just about trying to get improvement in one area. If I can pick a nugget or two from lots of different types of podcasts or interviews, and I find that serves me well. So glad to be here.
Absolutely. So why are you so dedicated to helping people with too much to do? Was this a major issue for you in the past?
Oh, absolutely. I think all of us in the learning and development world, or many of us in the learning and development world, start out with trying, I'm struggling with this, and how do I find something that works for me? And so it was. I've always been a huge fan of time management. In the late 80s, I was one of those people who carried around the brown Franklin Covey planner.
Yeah.
Some updated versions of that even today. But it was beyond that. It was just this whole idea of, we've got this limited resource of time. How do we use it as effectively as possible to accomplish what's important? And it's always been a struggle for me. And so I began to figure out some solutions that worked for me. I started offering them to other people. And then, of course, that later became a book and training programs and those kinds of things. That was kind of my journey to getting here.
So, the struggle with time, why are we so focused on time?
Well, because it's, again, I said a moment ago, it's a limited resource, but we treat it like it's not. We don't plan our days as efficiently and effective as we could, because we just kind of subconsciously sometimes go, well, I'll have time for that later. I'll get to that later. And then there's always these things that come along that fill up that space that we were going to use for something more important. And now we're relegated to, as the old saying goes by Stephen Covey, we're focusing on the urgent and not the important.
Right. I think also that the focus on time creates us in scarcity mode. Right? And really takes away, why shouldn't we be focused on our outcomes and what we want to achieve? And when we're focused on time, it just creates more stress, right?
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better, is that it really does. If we were focusing on outcomes and how we were going to use that time, that's one thing. But when we're constantly looking at, I've got 15 minutes or I've got an hour, or we're looking at the time component, it really does create this sense of hurry for us that a lot of times isn't healthy in getting to those most important things.
Right. I could see both sides, right? I could argue both sides, because you said a lot of times we think that we have so much of it that we squander it away, right? So I guess it's really interesting and important to be thinking about what our relationship with time is.
Yeah, and that's a great statement. What's our relationship with time? Do we look at it as an asset, or do we look at it as a liability? And I think it is both. I mean, it's not one or the other, but so many times we're looking at it, in your words, so you look at it like a liability, and then we're just so overly concerned about, how we use it in the moment and not really looking at the bigger picture of planning out our days and our weeks to get our highest priorities accomplished.
So how do we get stuck with all this, like, too much to do? Is today, this is a loaded question. So is today, do we have more to do than we had 10 or 20 years ago? I mean, that's what people are saying that they feel. Like, what do you think about that?
One of the things is just the expectations we placed on ourselves. And I'm not one of those people who says, oh, it's all because of technology. I think technology's had a huge influence in that because information can pass by so much more quickly and can be transferred between people so much more quickly than it could 10 or 20 years ago. And because of that, it creates an expectation that all of us have that if I need something from you, Penny, you can get it back to me a lot quicker than you could 10, 15, 20 years ago. I think something else that happens is when we talk about the expectations, we're looking around at other people who seem to have it all together or seem to be getting the right things done. And so we think we have to do the same things that they're doing. And so I think there's a number of things that have gotten us to this point where we just feel like there's so much to get done. And the other thing we won't do, I think, is that we won't just stop and go, what is most important to me? We just kind of
do that. Duh, right? Duh.
Exactly.
So why don't we do it? What's your answer to that? Like, how do you help
the
people?
reason we don't do it because it just seems counterproductive. And if I've got a busy day, my natural tendency is, okay, I just need to check off the next item. I just need to get it done. As I often say, just because you're checking the item off doesn't mean it was the most important thing for you to do.
Right.
It's stopping to examine what would help me move forward, what's professionally important to me or personally important versus, okay, I've got 37 things today. Well, I need to get all 37 done. Well, maybe not. Maybe if you'd stop and go, if I get 7, 11, and 15 done, that'll move me forward a lot more than getting the other 34 done in my day.
What's a tip or trick or hack that you use to help people to remind themselves to do that and to get into that flow?
Sure. Well, it's not anything new necessarily, but I think it all starts with planning your day. It starts with stopping and then looking at how your day is going to go. One of the things that I challenge people in training programs or whether I'm coaching or whatever the environment is that never engage with technology before you start planning your day. I mean, it seems so simple, but how many people, and statistics say, 75% of us or more actually sleep with the phone next to our bed or a technological device. The first thing our tendency is to do in that morning is to pick it up and start, okay. And then we get caught up in I've got to get this done. Or, that's happening. Instead of stopping to go, what have I been trying to accomplish these past 12 weeks or 6 months? What's important to me? Who do I want to be? What do I want to become? And then beginning to say, what does that mean that this day should look like? Versus reacting to the urgent, the emails, the messages that are on that device. So that's one strategy.
Okay. The one strategy is not to touch technology before you start your daily plan. So do you suggest to people that they schedule it?
As far as scheduling their planning?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's so critical that first thing in the morning, or even if it's in the day before, the evening, before you go to bed. But yes, to schedule that planning time and to really spend some really positive time thinking about what is it you want to accomplish and also reflecting on how the previous day went as you are making your plans to see what needs to be brought from previous days or the past week. But yeah, I think that has to be a part of your day. And that's so counterintuitive to many people because they start their mornings in a hurry, trying to get everything done at home if they want to get done. Then they rush to work. And then many times there's that first urgent thing awaiting them and they don't actually stop and go, okay, I'm going to plan. And so I think that it does have to be scheduled. Yes.
I think that when we start in that hurried, busy, we don't think, right? And then we just go stressfully into one thing or the next, and we're not purposeful at all. So it's so key to really get that time to get purposeful about what it is that we want to create and what the results are that we're looking to achieve.
Yes. And you hit it so well is the purpose. And one of the things that I teach a lot around, one of my models that I use is that you need to manage your working life like a circus. And one of the things we talk about, it's really interesting, is in fact, in a training program,
if you've ever been to my house, by the way, it is like a circus.
Good. That's a great, see, you got the imagery. We've got a great.
I got it.
In a training program, I'll ask someone, what's the purpose of the circus? And immediately they, as long as some of the members of the audience will say, the purpose of the circus is entertainment. And then I'll start talking with them. I say, okay, well, if the purpose is entertainment, what acts need to be in the lineup? And they'll start listing some different acts that need to be in the lineup. And then I'll look at them a few minutes later and I'll go, you're absolutely wrong. And they'll go, what? And then when I stop them and go, okay, I want you to think for a moment. What's the purpose of the circus? What's the outcome that the circus wants from the performance if you're the owner of the circus? And they'll go, money, to make a profit. And I'll go, oh, that's the why, as Simon Sinek would say. But then I'll say, okay, well, how do they do that? Then they'll go, by being entertained. And I'll say, does that change the way you think about the lineup? And they'll go, yeah. And so in the same way, I think it's so critical, like you said, that we start with purpose. What's the outcome I want from this day, this week, this month? And then begin planning what acts, if you will, or activities need to go into our day to help us move toward that outcome.
Absolutely. I love that imagery. I think that having those types of whatever analogies or visualizations really help us to see it outside of ourselves, because we can't, when we're part of the problem, we can't see the problem. Yep. So it does help us to step outside and see it from a different perspective. So I really love that.
Well, thank you. And we take it to the next level in lots of ways. We talk about how if you're going to manage your time, it's not just around one ring, if you want to call it a circus. You've got 3 rings. You've got a work ring, you've got a self ring, and you've got a relationship ring. And if you want to effectively manage your time, you can't just think in terms of one ring because you neglect the other 2. In fact, a great moment in a keynote is when I say, okay, how many of you in here would say that the work ring's most important? Some people raise their hand. How many of you say the self ring? And then, you get different people raise their hand. I say, who's right? And then, people say, well, all of 3 of them are important. I'll go, very good. Now, here's the big question. Which one do we neglect most often? And of course, everybody in the audience goes, self, It's such an important moment to understand that time management is not just about, okay, how can I get 47 things done at work? It's how can I manage my time effectively in all those areas, because they're interconnected. They're not exclusive. We've got to manage in all 3.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
What other types of tips could you share with the audience to really help them with this idea? Now I think by putting it into 3 rings, you give some categorization to it. So maybe it reduces the stress a little bit, because sometimes when the list is like this without any categories, right? Reduces the stress a little bit, but there's still so much that they're juggling, right? With all of these 3 rings. So what are some other key tips that you offer?
Yeah. One, it's a tip. It's not for me. It was from a participant in a training program a few years ago, and I loved it, and I use it so often. When I was talking about this whole concept of juggling elephants, that when we're trying to get everything done, it's overwhelming, it's heavy. And so one of my audience members said, yeah, so I guess you got to ask yourself the question, what are you willing to fail at? And of course, none of us want to talk about what we're willing to fail at, because we're going to succeed at everything. And so it's such a powerful question. If I've got so much going on, what am I willing to fail at? Okay, I'm willing to fail at having everything in order in my office, or I'm willing to fail at having the cleanest house in the world, or so that I can succeed at being a great parent, so I can succeed at being present with my team members when I'm at work. So I think that's a strategy that's really important when you start feeling that pressure. Is, okay, I can't get it all done. What am I willing to fail at? And then begin to identify some of those things and understand that by identifying those things, it gives you the space, at least mental, if not physical, to begin saying, okay, what do I want to succeed at to get to my...
I love that, because it goes back to what you said earlier around the expectations. So by asking that question, you're allowing yourself to shift your expectations of yourself and say, it's okay to have lower expectations in this area, so that you can live up to higher expectations in another area, right? So I think that's a great connection to where you started on expectations.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because it is all about being mindful. I mean, you've had guests on your show that have talked about that. It's about you've got to stop and think and reflect. And sometimes those jarring questions will help you to do that and to go a little bit deeper into yourself so that you're not just accomplishing the task, you're actually moving your work and life forward.
Absolutely. I think questions, I mean, it's so simple and yet so powerful just to put the right question in there to help you to reflect, to step back, to evaluate. Super, super powerful. And for whatever reason, that's another really simple trick that we just forget and we don't do is ask more questions.
Marshall Goldsmith's book, Triggers, phenomenal book. And he talks about the power of daily questions. And I have instituted some of that in my own life is that I'm trying to make a change or manage my time more effectively. I find that if I will come up with 3 to 5 questions to ask myself at the end of each day, that helps me to evaluate how my day went and what I need to do differently tomorrow, especially if I rate myself on that scale of 1 to 10. So a phenomenal book that I've gained much from was Triggers.
Yeah, I thought that was a great book too. Absolutely. So yeah, I think that people can just arm themselves with asking more questions. So for myself, through some of the coaching that I've done and even in my own life, I learned that in the beginning, when somebody would give me an assignment as a consultant, I want to please, right? So everything's urgent. So I think giving me something, have to have it done by tomorrow. And I would have too much to do and be totally burnt out. And I realized that I could just ask a couple of questions to manage expectations, going back to the expectations part. And
yes.
I would say, when do you need this by? And how many times did I actually hear, I'm going on vacation, so I don't need it until the following Friday. And you're like, what? Like, had I not asked that question, I would have rushed it there. And then I wouldn't have gotten any response because they weren't there. They just want to get that hot potato off their chest or back and get it to you. So by asking a couple questions, when do you need this by? Can I split this up into different deliverables, different pieces? 3 to 5 questions on that when somebody gives you an assignment or asks you to do something, that you can get clarity, that you can also understand what their expectations are and manage them and set your own more accurately. Because I don't know, I think we have this, it's an American thing. There was actually a book published a long time ago called The Stuff Americans Are Made Of. And one of those things is we're made with a higher sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And so we have to now, with technology and everything, we've got to totally manage that.
Mm-hmm. And you bring up such a good point, a place about managing our time is so much about communication. It's not just about the tips and the tricks and managing procrastination and ABC and all that stuff. It's about how are we communicating with other people? How are we communicating our current workload? There's a strategy that I try to teach people about is, it's okay to communicate your workload. You're not whining, especially if you're focused on the organization's highest priorities. If you're doing what your boss is wanting you to get done, it's okay to say, working on this, this, and this, as you've asked me to, is going to cause me to have to slow down on this, and then asking for help from that position of strength. That's what your manager or supervisor gets paid to do, is to help sort that out. Asking that question of, help me understand which one of these is most important, because I want to focus my time and energy where you need me to be. But so many people won't take that first step and ask the question because they're afraid they're looking weak. And I say, guess what? Your boss already knows you're not getting everything done because you're not turning in the stuff.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And they don't always know everything that you're working on, because there's matrix organizations today where different projects are giving you different things to do, and your boss might not be privy to all of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
I got to say, in a moment in one of my training programs, I'll ask that question that you just said. I'll say, what % of your current workload does the person you report to understand? Of everything that's on your plate, what % do they understand? And when I go down the line, it usually averages out to about 60%, maybe 50%. And I say to them, okay, if your boss only understands 50% of your workload, why is it a problem for them to ask you to do one more thing? And people go, yeah.
Right. And why should it be a problem for you to communicate what it is that you do have going on? Yeah. Right. They only know 50%.
Exactly. Exactly right.
So I love that. That's good stuff. Really good stuff. So we talked about expectation management of self and others, the communication aspect of it. We talked about planning and how important that is. As we sort of wrap up and wind down our podcast here, what's one of the things that a mentor or that you learned the hard way that is one of the most important things to you now because of that?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the thing that probably has resonated with me the most, and we put this in the book, Joe Elephants, as far as in the story, was this whole idea of taking an intermission, of stopping to see how things are going. You talked about a moment ago how Americans work. We usually work until something breaks. Either we snap at a coworker, or we just got a migraine, or we looked at a 4-line email and we don't have a clue what it said because we're just out of focus. In managing your life like a circus, the whole idea is you got to stop. Da Vinci talked about it. Every now and then, go ahead and have a little relaxation. Remain constantly at work will diminish your judgment.
Right.
And there's tremendous power in stopping, a strategic stop, and saying, where am I right now? How am I doing on the work that I'm doing?
I get that. And that's awesome. I want to know personally, like, what did you almost lose, or did you lose because you didn't step back? Like, I would love the listeners to hear from you personally what it was.
Yep. I've been self-employed since 1994. And if I charted the success of my business by lots of different matrices, but every time I got so busy working in the business, that whole thing of just taking care of all the stuff right in front of me, then I can tell you that's when my business suffered. And it was those moments when I would stop and be strategic and reflective and go, okay, how am I doing? And to evaluate my current success, then I could take better steps and choose the best course of action instead of a good course of action. So year 2000, I nearly lost my business simply because I was so busy. Had a great year in 1999 and just felt like I just need to keep, doing the same thing. But so often we just won't stop to reflect on how things are going and what we need to do to improve.
Totally. I mean, how many people have woken up because they had a big health scare because you said one of those rings wasn't taken care of, right? So they were working excessively and stressed and not breaking themselves, and then getting the wake-up call there. Or like you said, the business is at risk, or some of your key people leave because you're not managing your people. Like, so key to step back and see where your time and attention is most needed in your business. So it's key. Awesome. Yes. Is there anything else that you wanted to share before we end our episode here?
No, I think I love the line of questioning today. I think my takeaway is just a reminder of myself, just how important that planning is to make each day effective, and understanding that we can't get it all done. And just that one statement alone, okay, if I can't get it all done, what's most important to get done? And then aligning our daily activities to those outcomes instead of just failing to plan because we say, oh, I'll have time later, because time is a limited resource.
Absolutely. Well, that's the one thing that everybody can definitely take away. It was mentioned several times, is put it in your calendar, plan every day, plan every week, plan every month, right? Because it's just that little bit of time that you put into planning that helps things to go smoother, that reduces stress, that keeps you purposeful. It's so critical.
Absolutely.
So, Jones, thank you so much for being here and sharing. I know it's just a tiny tip of the iceberg of all the great strategies and tips that you have. So thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you for the work that you're doing to help all of us take back our time.
Absolutely. And do you have a website or a place where people can find you and get more information, have you come and speak, or any and all of the above?
Absolutely. The best place to start is jonesloflin.com. They can go there and find all kinds of resources, more information about me. They can also check out my YouTube channel, Jones Loflin. If they go there, there's over 180 videos of 3 minutes or less that help give you some tips and ideas on time management. It comes out once a week and doing every week. The one that came out today was how to better manage your energy level to make sure you're fully present in the moment.
Awesome. I love that. I always say energy is everything, and you've got a lot of it. So, and you can tell, right? That's contagious. And so I totally agree. And people should definitely check out that video, because that's where the day starts, is the energy that you bring to it.
Exactly. Well said.
So thank you, Jones. Thank you so much.
My pleasure to be a part of your broadcast today. Thank you.
And thank you all for being here, because it's your time and energy that is invested wisely. So you are planning because you're listening to these shows and other shows that are going to help you to work smarter and not harder, because that is the goal, right? Is to be smarter in what you do and how you approach it. And there were a lot of great tips in today's episode. I want you to take a moment to plan what's one action that you're going to take today as a result of what you heard. What are you going to do that's going to make something more consistent, that's working but not all the time? Or what's something new that you haven't done that you heard here that's going to make a difference? Maybe it's just asking that question when somebody gives you an assignment or a couple questions at the end of the day. Whatever it is, write it down and put it on your computer so that you're ready to take action. Schedule a time that you can actually take the first step that you're going to do to implement that. So my name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.